Okay, so in the last video, we saw how we could create an executable file that can then be run on our machine to open up the application or program that we've developed. A very efficient way of being able to share your program with your end user community. But sometimes you create programs and applications that automate certain tasks. And you won't want to keep clicking on your executable file every time you want to run the application. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can automatically run your program without having to execute it yourself. Your computer will do everything for you. Now for this example, I am using a Windows machine, so I'll be using what is known as the task scheduler. But if you're using a Mac, I believe there is an application called Task Till Dawn, which I've heard is an effective application that can be used for Mac users when scheduling and automating the execution of a file. Now the task scheduler can be used for a variety of use cases. In fact, anything you want your computer to do automatically, you can configure in the task scheduler. For example, maybe your computer goes to sleep every 5 minutes when you're not using it, but you could use the task scheduler to automatically wake your computer at a specific time that you stipulate. So let's see if we can get the computer to automatically open up our my_calculator executable file that we created in the last video. So the first thing we need to do is open up the task scheduler. So if you simply search for task scheduler in the Windows search bar and press return, an application will appear which looks something like this. You'll see a list of tasks that are ready to be run and the associated triggers that would make that task run. You can see when the next runtime is, when it was last run, and so on. Now to create a brand new task, on the right hand side you can see we have this menu titled Actions. Now we're going to be clicking on Create Basic Task, which will open up an easy to use wizard that will walk us through the process of creating a task. But if you want more advanced options, you can click on Create Task and you'll be able to configure the task in a little more detail. But for the purposes of this illustration, I'm simply going to click on Create Basic Task. When I do this, the Create Basic Task wizard pops up and we simply have 4 sections we need to populate. The first section is Create a Basic Task, and we simply need to provide the task a name and a description. So I'm going to provide this task the name of Open Calculator, and I'm going to provide a description which says this task will automatically open up the my_calculator app that we developed using Python. I can then click Next. The next thing we're asked is, when do you want the task to start? Now I want this application to open up daily, so I'll leave it selected on daily, but you can have this task run weekly, monthly, you can specify one time. You can have it so it opens up automatically when the computer starts or when you log on. Or you could also have it so that when another event is logged, the my_calculator task is then executed. But we'll leave it as daily for now. When I click Next, we need to stipulate the start time that this executable will be run. So at the moment it states that it will run at 11:46. Because it's 11:46 now, I'm going to change this to 11:50 so that we can see the file execute in this video. We can also select the synchronize across time zones so that depending on where you are in the world, the application will load at this specific time. When I click Next, we're then asked, what action do you want the task to perform? Now we simply want the action to start a program, in other words to start our my_calculator application. So we'll leave it on the default selection of Start a Program. When I click Next, we're then asked to select the program or script that we want to run. So I can click on Browse, and then I can select the my_calculator application, which is our .exe file that is stored in our output folder that was created when we run the autopy to exe program. Now we do have the options add arguments and start in, which are optional. I'm going to skip these for the time being, and I'm going to click on Next. You then get a summary of your task. So we've called it Open Calculator, we have a description, it's going to be triggered at 11:50, and it's going to start the program which is stored in this folder location. When I click on Finish, you can see that the Open Calculator task has been added to our list of tasks. It's ready to be run, and you can see that it's going to be run at 11:50. So if we now wait to 11:50, you can see that it's going to be run, as the next runtime is on the 10th of June, which is today's date, at 11:50. When it runs, the last runtime will be updated to today's date at 11:50, and then it will tell us that it will next run on the 11th of June at 11:50. So 11:50 and 12 seconds has just been hit. If I bring the calculator across, we can see that it's automatically been opened by the machine. I didn't have to click on any executable, and our calculator is ready to use. Now you can imagine that if this was running a program that was going to automate the collection of files on your machine and store them in a centralized location every single day, this could be a web scraping activity that goes and fetches the latest stock prices, whatever it may be, you can get your computer to automatically run this at any time you like. You could even be asleep and your computer is running tasks for you to make things more efficient. So a short video showing you how you can schedule a task to run at a specific time.